Hey, call me Louis. This is my spot. LuiSpot.
But let me tell you, the energy really comes out of here, and the blackness comes out of here, because when brothers and sisters move out to California, as you well know, something happens to them. When they go to Berkeley, which we call Berkeley, you also understand they become multicultural and people of color, and they can become everything but blackness. Then when they come to San Francisco, that's the city of whatever your sexual preference might be. And then when they're down in Los Angeles, they get false notions, you know, that they're all in Hollywood or whatever it might be, and they tend to forget that the togetherness and the blackness. Because had any group of people hassled a group of black people in California the way they did you and the slave, and then you got up, you didn't even fall on your backs, but you got up, went to another location, and here you are today. Most groups would not have survived. They would not have been able to handle that. And the reason why you're here tonight is because you have survived, and that means that you're threatening somebody and doing something right. Because have you noticed that the groups who were after you and the slave, and after all of us all over this world, but especially after you and the slave, you notice they're not after Third Baptist Church on Sundays. They're not after Abyssinia. They're not after any of those churches. See, they're not after places that are not threats to them. But when they believe that black people get together who are determined to understand that they're not going to be controlled by their inferiors, then they're ready to deal with us. And this is the type problem that we have going on. That's why I'm so happy to see what is going on here. And I know that this is our Women's History Month, but as I told you before when I was here, and even on WLIB this week, I'm just an advocate for brothers and sisters, because I do believe that whatever sisters are, brothers got to be that with us. Whatever brothers are, they have to be it with us. And that way we raise strong warriors, young males and females, to take our places and to continue the legacy that we have. They don't tell us about what the slave theater has done and how it has moved from place to place and how it still remains black. You may be the only organization in this country that has been able since the 60s to remain black. You may be the only. You may be the only. And you know, that is a sad commentary on our on our people, that anybody else can remain whatever they want to be. You know, the Irish can have what they have. The Italians got St. Patrick's Day. The Jews have theirs. You know, you just go down the line. But whenever black folk get together, somehow they just gonna become afraid that we are there to do what they would do if they were in our place. And that is that if they had been oppressed, as long as they have oppressed us, they would be naturally afraid to meet, because we would wonder what are they going to do. So they really believe that we're vindictive, evil people and would give them exactly what they deserve, and perhaps one day we will. Perhaps one day we will come to that point. I hope that this is the thing. And one of the reasons why I'm always happy to come to this organization, because you're the only black organization, again, that understands to put race first. Race first. Race first. And I've had some white folks to tell me that I was a flaming militant, a radical, or whatever all of these names were that they called me. And I said that I am very pleased that you've called me a nationalist, because you could have said that I was a member of the NAACP of the Urban League. So I said, I'm very pleased of the names that you have given. But I said that because we put race first, something is wrong with us. But everybody else puts their own first, because God bless the child who has his own. And so I think that race first is very important. And to our brothers that are in this room, and I mean genuine brothers, and I probably, before I get to these brothers, and probably should have said that before the sisters, I'm welcoming sisters and brothers here, but I also want to welcome the infiltrators that may be in our midst tonight, because you know that they're here. You know that they're here. And the only thing that I ask when you report to your master, please spell my name correctly. It's Juliahare. This is it. And to those who are not sure that they're going to have race first or that they're black first, tonight let us make you honorary Negroes, whichever it is that you choose to be. But as black men, the reason why I'm so happy to see you, I'm happy to see the first men who also walked this earth, and the first to truly establish a civilization. They now want to say that the Greeks did it, and well, we all know all the names they've given, but you were absolutely the first, of course, with our help. You were the first to build institutions, because as Marcus Garvey told us, that it is our business to continue to build institutions. And by doing that, you still have people, white scientists, wondering how you built one of the only 7 wonders of the world. The pyramids are still standing. This got them stymied and wondered how did it get up there. And you can believe that every day as we speak, they're still trying to find out how that happened. I'm happy to come before brothers who help to build governments in this country, and this is what we're looking at. And because you have done so well, you will also always be genetically represented in the black child when you have stood for something. And I also know that it is not easy being the brother of David Walker, who absolutely gave us our first mission statement in the 19th century. I know it is not easy being a black man because everybody wants a piece of the black man in this world. Everybody wants a piece of the black male. White man wants a piece of him, and you know his woman wants a piece of the black man. So you know it just goes all over. So I know it is not easy being one, because we know that as a black male you pose a threat in the bedroom and the boardroom to the white man. Wish you would stop posing it in his bedroom, but anyway, you do pose a threat both ways, and he understands that very, very carefully. And so to all the brothers in this room who have also stood for something, who have also fought, to all the brothers in here who are not insane, because it must be difficult to be a black man walking down the street with everybody scared of you that you haven't become totally schizophrenic. So to all of those who have remained true to the cause and the legacy of blackness, let's give these brothers a round of applause. Let us do this. Let us do this. You do know that if anybody's going to save the black family, are you now with me convinced that it's going to have to be us? It's just going to have to be us. There are some people who are still saying, oh, the government will save us. Well, the government is part of the problem. How are they going to actually save us from anything? And if you're part of the problem, you certainly can't be a part of a solution. The government has already said that 1 out of 4 black babies that are not even born, not to mention those that are born, will end up in jail. Now, how is a government that makes those type predictions going to help us? You know the Democrats cannot help us, but I know 95% of you probably think the Democrats will help us. But I know that 100% of you know the Republicans will not help us. And some of you who have gotten a little bit angry with the brothers and forgotten who your sisters are and forgotten to look in the mirror, you may even think that white feminists like Gloria Allred, Denise Brown, and Madeleine Albright will help us. But you know those women are not going to help us even if they could. Did they help us when their husbands raped us on the plantations? Did they help us when their husbands brought domestic violence against us on the plantations? See, this is what a lot of people do not look at. Those women are out for themselves, and we'll get into them also a little bit later. So only the black man and only the black woman are the ones who will save black people, and we should stop depending upon anyone else. Let me show you some of the things we're facing. White folks were surprised to see the racial polarization that took place after that first O.J. Simpson jury came in. They were just like, they had no idea that we could even feel. They did not know, first of all, we believed that the prosecution, Marcia Clark, with a polyester wearing self, did not prove the case. We understood that from the very, very beginning. But then we also understood that this was much bigger to us than O.J. Simpson. We know O.J. Simpson is hopeless and helpless. And so we had no intentions of even dealing with someone like that. We were seeing our fathers, our brothers, and everybody else that we knew. And so they were surprised to see that it was at an all-time high. They are surprised to see that black folks are not surprised that affirmative action is being taken away. Because don't they take away everything else? First of all, affirmative action started to have reparations for those who had been left out. And reparations meant black folks, because the Japanese got their reparations and they were only in the concentration camps for 4 years. And we were in there 400 and didn't get ours. Germany gave reparations to the Jews, and you can go all the way down the line. But when it came time for our reparations, affirmative action, the reason why you don't hear white females saying anything, because 80% of the jobs under affirmative action went to them, plus pushing us to the back burner and bringing inflation up. This is the kind of thing that happened, the reason why we're not surprised at anything they do. And I don't know, some of you are very, very young, but in my experience growing up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I never knew that anybody who was sent to the back of the bus because she was a white woman. Nobody was sent to the back of the bus because they were homosexual. Nobody was sent to the back of the bus because they were Asian and Latin. They were sent to the back of the bus because their faces were black. And now all of these groups are wanting to come in now and take the things that owe us. And some of our leaders stand up there and say, oh, we're all one. We should include everyone that's going in. Every time I hear them do that, I just want to pick up a sock, a shoe, or something and throw it at the television. See, this is why I'm not mistaken by these leaders. See, anytime, first of all, you can't lead me when you call an organization rainbow, because there's no black in a rainbow, as you all always know. And then they were amazed to know that we were shocked. We were shocked to know that white folks were surprised to know when the San Jose Mercury News broke the story of the CIA and putting drugs in our community. It didn't surprise us. I don't know why white folks knew that we didn't have any airplanes and boats and all those things to come in here. But the only thing that just disturbed me about it was I was sorry that a black newspaper could not once in a while broken a story like that. They're surprised to know that we're sick of public school education and that we equate public schools with prisons because they're both running a business of incarcerating our children to keep them off the streets until they're old enough to be sent to some other place. Pediatricians have now said, and speaking of black children, that gun violence is now the epidemic of the 90s. And this is why I'm saying, sisters, there are some things that we have got cut out for us because you cannot depend upon the coalitions or your co-workers or your friends unless your co-workers' faces are black and they have been politicized just as you have. The Center for Disease Control have told us that most black children are going to get killed in school or even near the school. And yet when we decide that we want to have our own private schools, the white liberals will come crawling out from under the woodwork telling us that we're separating ourselves in this kind of segregation. You remember in Detroit when they wanted to have a school for all black boys? And here comes all of these folks out of here, the types that you know are not our friends, the Gloria Steinems and all, coming out talking about it was discriminating against our girls. And see, when that didn't work, they said that then we'll find a black person. Have you noticed white folks can always find a black person to come and do their biddings against us? Can always find one. And they made a mistake to find a sister to come out against Julia Hare on CNN. And I told the sister during the break, I said, now you have your opportunity to either side with me or go home embarrassed to death. You have your choice to do whichever one you want to do. I said, because if you side with the white folks today, I'm going to treat you just like them. I said, because this is what has happened on the slave plantations. Whenever we had any meetings and there was an insurrection there, it was usually a black person who told them because white folks were not at the planning meeting. And I said, they're going to do the same thing to you as they did to the others. Once they pushed us into the river, whatever it was for trying to get away, they kicked the person in there who went back to tell them. So I said, you got your choice, and we're going to give you a countdown to 3. Sister got on there just singing right along with me, and knowing she didn't agree with me, but I told her, but you had your choice to either face me here or go home and face your community, either one that you chose to choose. You have to do that to them. And the reason why I say this, we're going to really have to start holding black people accountable, and somehow we're afraid to do that. We put them in office, we're afraid to hold them accountable, because what they do, then they run for office, they come to groups like this, they go to all the black churches and they speak, and they have us out there selling fish dinners and chicken dinners and doing the chitlin strut and everything we can to raise money to get them in. And once they get in the office, they say, oh, I'm not an officer, I'm not the mayor of black people, I'm the mayor of all people. And see, I have a problem with that, because first of all, a serious revolutionary will not and does not even wish to become an elected official. I'm telling you about a serious revolutionary, because you cannot do that, because you have to serve 2 masters, and I think we've all taught you cannot serve 2 masters at one time. Because once you get into office, if you are not serving the folks who have bankrolled you, you are either going to be recalled, assassinated, or put out. Now, I'm not telling you not to vote for black folks, and I think that you should do that. Anytime a black person is running for office, vote for them, but don't expect for them to be your leader if you want to get liberation and go to freedom. You will always work with them, but your leaders cannot be elected officials, just like the white folks' leaders are not elected officials. You really don't think that Bill Clinton is running anything, do you? That's just the elected official. You really don't think those cabinet members are running their communities. They are elected officials. The business people and the scholars and the people like us who do all the thinking out here, that's who's running them and calling the shots. In other words, when we have elected officials, they are the puppets who should be out there dancing, but we are the puppeteers who should be pulling those strings, telling them what to say. And if they don't say those things, if you don't dance to those strings, then we're going to have to pull the strings and pull you off the stage. The reason why I said that I know the sisters are going to help us to lead this, but brothers, you will be with us too. The only reason why I'm saying pushing us out there, not only is it because it's Women's History Month, I found out that white folks are not so quick to come and throw us into jail as they are the brothers. This is why we had to put Rosa Parks on the bus. This is why some things we may be able to get out there and do. Now, you are warriors, and once we knock on the door, then you'll come and kick it in and push it open. So there is a role for each of us that we have to do. But since they have said that 14% of black men cannot vote in this country because they are convicted felons, you know, any black man in this country, is amazing that they're not a convicted something, you know, if they wanted to survive. But that means about 1 million brothers in this country cannot vote. And yet, when they tell them that they can't vote because they were accused of something, Richard Nixon was able to vote up until his death. You know, the Whitewater people are still voting every day. In fact, still running the White House. The savings and loan people. So I'm talking about all these double standards that they put out up there for us. This is the thing that bothers me. Now, what I know you are probably, when you go back to your jobs and you have a master plan, not that you're going to tell this, but sometimes when your white friends and associates find out about this, you're going to get into serious trouble. So I've long since stopped caring about what they thought, because I would rather die on my feet than to live 100 years crawling at their feet. And I have made that very, very clear. Because see, the things that I mentioned to you, white folks are going to tell you, oh, these things are happening to all people. Whenever they tell me that, I said, listen, whenever you people have a cold, we are suffering from pneumonia. Whenever you all have a disease, we have the same one, but ours is terminal. Whenever you organize a militia, they call them patriots. Whenever you organize as the Aryans, they call you misguided youth. But whenever black folk organize, they send us to jail and call us that we're nationalists and we're insurrectionists and trying to overthrow the country. So don't ever begin to believe, no matter how good your jobs are, no matter what you're doing, that we are all one. Because this is the thing that they like to convince us, that there really is no difference. I don't know why we sit down on our shows and we'll tell people that, what is her name, the Ricky Blaxploitation Lake Show, that likes to get these people on there always saying that I don't think it matters who you marry and this kind of thing. But the reason why they can run this on us, did you know that everybody in their world can tell who their enemies are? Everybody in this world except black folks. You know, everybody else knows who their enemies are. But you know, we have this kind of thing that thou shalt not hold, whatever these scriptures are. But you know, we really believe in that because we've had Baptist ministers since the days of the plantation, Methodist ministers. We've had ministers who have kept us in a prone position, kept us on our knees, but never did say that the Lord or Allah helps those who help themselves. So most of these people understand who their enemies are, but we do not understand that we're the most forgiving people. Don't you know, if you ask the Catholics who their enemies are, they'll tell you. They don't have to do any research. It doesn't matter where they are. They can immediately tell you that at 2 a.m. in the morning. Ask the Jews who their enemies are. They'll call them for you. Ask the Palestinians. Ask the Chinese. Ask the President of the United States. He'll tell you. But we believe we have no enemies. We believe we have no enemies. Because if we believe we had something, it means we'd have to fight. And some of us are not willing to do that. If we believe that we had some enemies, then it means that we would have to stand for something. This is the kind of thing. But one of the major reasons that black folks refuse to recognize that they're enemies of our progress and enemies of our people is because we are too busy looking for approval. We're too busy looking for acceptance from these people. We're too busy wanting, and no matter what you do, you're never really going to, in a white supremacist society, for people who brought you over here, who deem that you're inferior, you will never you'll never receive their approval or acceptance, and that's why I don't know why you seek it. The only thing that we should have them doing is fearing us, not accepting or doing these type things. This is what it is. But some of us will say, if we act out, it will hurt our image. Oh, what will white folk think? See, the Japanese aren't looking for acceptance. They're looking for superiority. The Koreans are not looking for acceptance. They're looking for superiority. The Russians, none of these groups are looking for acceptance from these people except us. Because you can believe this. All of these groups that I've named, the minute they get their superiority, don't expect them to be sympathetic either. They'll treat you just like the Europeans did. So when you decide to call yourself third world and all mixed up in coalitions with these people, you better watch and guard carefully who you coalesce with. So, sisters, let me tell you, I think that if we're going to be looking at the 21st century, it is really time for us to go to war. I know this sounds terrible, but it is really time. The reason why I say that, some of you are so young, but you do not understand. 40 years ago, we were having these discussions. 20 years ago, we keep reinventing the wheel because we still have not understood that we were not put here to service the needs of white folks and to win their acceptance. And this is the kind of thing that bothers me. And when I say if you're ready to go to war, if you're ready to come with me, you may have to lose some friends because, there are friends who don't want to be associated with people who make waves. You may have to lose some relatives because I've lost a few. I have 2 sisters in Oakland, California that are so bourgeois and such flag wavers that I only see them at funerals, hopefully at theirs. But these are the type things, that we have to go through and have to deal with. And you are also going to lose some of your white friends. And I know that harms a lot of you, that you have to lose those friends. But you will lose some of them if you decide to do that. But see, one of the things that we're going to have to do, we're going to have to move just as aggressively as these white women move. But the only difference is we will move aggressively with our men. Now, see, they're moving with theirs, but they don't want you to believe that. They want you to believe they are oppressed by those men and that they do not have enough money. But when those men have a chance to hire somebody that they call a, quote, minority, who do they hire, them or us? They hire them because they'd rather hire their mothers and their sisters and their lovers than to hire their enemies, which we are deemed to be by them. But see, let me tell you what we're going to have to do. First, sisters, we got to begin to have some very serious new racial strategies, which we have not had. We need a strategy that's just as Marcus Garvey said, the strategy needs to be race first. And when I say race first, I know a lot of you look up to those people who have not put race first. I think Shirley Chisholm is a wonderful person too. But when Sister stood up and said her oppression was more from being a female than being black, I said, now this is just the end. See, she can't be a part of the organization we're talking about. When Whoopi Goldberg said she had had worse treatment being a woman than she had ever had being black, and I know what part of a country she came from, and I know I've been treated black, but I said, this is just it. When Michael Jackson, well, maybe he didn't say he had more treatment being a woman, whatever he said. So you can understand, the list goes down and down and down of what we may find out. And see, the only sisters that we should have, if we understand this, when we form our new organization, the sisters have to be black. There can't be women of color. They can't be multicultural. They can't be diverse. They can't be any of that. They got to be black. They got to be black women and identify themselves as that. They have got to do that. And first, I think we need to begin with an association of black women. Remember, I didn't say colored women's clubs, none of those things. The association of black women. Now, we call ourselves African women if we want, but black women. It has to understand. And the only agenda that we have is not complex. It's to free ourselves, free our men, and to free our children. You know, freeing the black, that's the only agenda. Now, that's not difficult. That is not any formula that you have to go home and memorize. It's just freedom is the only word you got to think. Freedom, race, and black.